Welcome again, everybody. I am so excited to be up here, and man, can I feel the presence in the room today.
That was
fun.
Can
y'all feel it? I can feel it. I don't know.
That was so cool.
Everybody can.
That was so cool to see multiple generations singing and hands up and dancing. That was a holy moment.
Yes. Well, welcome again. And if we haven't had the chance to meet, my name is Alicia, and this is my wonderful friend Julie, and we are just so excited to see you all here today.
That's right. And if you are new to Revolution, we would love to connect with you. At Revolution, we are better together, and that means that we here at Revolution are better with you. And so I just want to encourage you to visit revolutioncc.org and click the I'm New button. We're going to ask you a short survey just so we can get to know you, who you are, and how you came to know us. And as a thank you for doing that, we want to donate $5 in your name to the local charity of your choice. So it's just a way, again, for us to touch base, to get to know each other, and to make an awesome contribution to the community.
Yeah, and right along with that note, we want to thank you all for your amazing generosity. Because of your guys' generosity, we're able to keep this mission moving forward of helping people find Jesus and live like him. So if that sounds like a next step for you guys, go ahead and you can text, do all of the options that are
so
there
many
on
options.
that
You won't be left out.
Yeah, so you can take that next step in any of those ways there.
Yeah, and so giving here at Revolution is financial, and we appreciate that so much, but giving is a lot more than just through your finances. And so we want to take a moment to do a volunteer spotlight right now. So I'm going to invite Lauren Scheidler and her daughter Taryn up to the stage right now. They faithfully serve in our early childhood area. So give them some love as they come up onto the stage all the way over. Yes. So Lauren and Taryn have been serving for quite a while. I told you I wasn't going to make you talk, but tell me how long you guys have been serving. Years. 4 or 5 years. They serve in our early childhood room, in our baby room. So you guys, they are changing diapers. They are wiping snotty noses right now. They're actually serving this morning. They're taking a break, and they're here so that we can honor them and love them. Don't worry, there is still someone with your children. If you dropped your babies with them, we did not leave them alone. They love our babies. They point our babies to Jesus. They read books. They pray over them. And we cannot thank you enough for that so much. But also, you guys, and if you're a parent in here, you know that there is so much more than loving that baby. Because as a parent, to have a safe room and safe people that we can trust to love our kids so that we can come in and we can have some quiet moments and we can have the opportunity to engage in what's happening in here is a priceless gift. So Lauren, Taryn, thank you guys so much. As a thank you, we have just a small gift card. You deserve so much more. But thank you guys. We're going to let you go so you can get back to those babies. Give them one more round of applause as they head out, guys.
Yeah, let's give it up. Awesome and volunteers, and we have so many incredible team volunteers around the service, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more today in just a few minutes when Katie Scott comes up to speak for us as the next week of our Come to the Table series. You guys having a good morning so far? Yeah, all right. Well, I'm excited that you are here. I know you've been welcomed a couple times, but if we haven't had the honor to meet, my name is Nate, and I have the privilege of serving as one of the pastors here at Revolution. Man, we are pumped that you're here. We've been talking about this month of February, how it's going to be a month that moves the mission forward in a big way, that we take some next steps together as a church. And this Come to the Table series is a big part of that as we talk about this idea of treating outsiders like insiders. But we're excited for this month for some other things too, some ways that we're really taking some steps forward in connecting with one another. And one of the big things that I'm excited about, and our staff and leadership teams have been excited about for some time as we've been working on it, is today we are releasing our brand new Revolution Church app. So I would love for you right now, go ahead and pull your phones out, and we're going to download this together because this is an incredible tool. It's absolutely free. It doesn't sign you up for anything crazy or anything, but it's a great tool just to get connected here at Revolution. So if you pull your phone out right now and go to revolutioncc.org/church app. Open up your browser, Chrome or Safari or whatever you might use, and go to revolutioncc.org, hit Church App. You'll see a button right up at the top. It looks just like that. It says download the app. And that'll pull open the app in whatever app store you need, the App Store or Google Play or Android, whatever it is. And it'll pull that up for you. So download that. And as it's downloading, I want to share with you just a little bit about this app and why we're so excited about it. But 2 quick steps as it's downloading. Once it's finished downloading, go ahead and open it up, and you'll get 2 quick questions that I'd love for you to basically answer yes to. The first one is, do you want to allow notifications? So this is an incredible communication tool. We're not going to spam you with stuff, but there's ways that you can chat with your life group, that we can chat together as a church, that we can push out communication to you when we have 18 inches of snow in one day, and maybe you're having to change up plans for our Sunday service. This will allow us to do that. So if you'll hit allow on that, it'll help us to just be able to communicate with you in those times. The second thing it'll ask you is, do you want to change the logo over to our church logo? So if you hit change on that, you'll see on your home screen the familiar Revolution Circles logo, so that you know every time when you're looking for it, hey, this is my church app. This is where I go to connect with our church. So download that and open it up. And I just want to highlight a few of the things you're going to see in it and why we're so excited about this. The first thing you'll notice up in the top window when you open it, and this is what the home screen looks like. I've got it right here in my hand as well. But that top left button says next step. Man, at Revolution, we believe there's always a next step, right? In our journey of following Jesus, no matter where we're at, there's always a next step that we can take to become a little bit more like Jesus. And so this right here is an opportunity for us to have a next step every single week. Man, every week we're going to have a different specific thing we're talking about, a different practical way for you to take a next step in your faith journey. And so that's simply what that is. Every week you can open it up during the service or during the week, hit that and learn more about that next step. This week we're highlighting joining a serve team, and Katie is going to talk to us a little bit about that in a little bit, but it's just, again, a practical way to take a next step every week. The next thing you'll see on that screen is the connect button. I'm really excited about this. We have life groups that meet every single week around our church. And we also have this great lobby area where we encourage people to come together and hang out in between services or after service and chat and grow relationships. And this connect button is built for that. In there, you'll see every single week we have life group or connection questions based on our conversation from the talk that day. Questions that are designed to just get you talking with others, get you talking about your faith, where you're at in your faith, how you can grow together, how we can be better together. The next thing, and we're really going to be talking a lot more about this next week, but the next thing you'll see is the groups. And this is actually the biggest thing on the homepage because we're all about connecting together in groups. Life groups, serve teams, lots of different types of groups here at Revolution. And so this groups thing, and the button is a little glitchy right now. We're still developing a few things. This is not 100%. We'll continue to roll out some new things with this over the coming weeks, but you can access that under the more button as well, the groups. But you'll be able to see all the groups that are there. If you're not in a life group already, you can ask to join one based on the ones you see there. And then your group can actually chat together right where within the app. So instead of trying to figure out is a group text going through or not going through, or did everyone get the Facebook message or see the Facebook invite or whatever, man, we've got it right here in our app. You can talk together as a life group. You can plan events. Our life group's having a Super Bowl party tonight, so we can plan our Super Bowl party, who's bringing what food and all that kind of stuff right here in the app. There's one thing about that I want to let you know about, and hopefully you've got the app downloaded by now. In order to connect with the groups, you'll have to do one step. Part of this app it's part of a back-end system that we're using called Tithely. And we're going to be talking about that over the next several weeks as we unroll some new features. But it's kind of how we organize everything within our church is in this Tithely app. And so you as a person, if you are in our system, you are now in this Tithely system. So when you open up your app, there's a way that you can log in. And our information is in there. So what we're going to have you do is up in the top left button, there's these 3 little lines. If you click that, you'll see a button that says sign up right at the bottom. And so you want to hit that sign up. It'll ask for just your name and an email address, and it'll let you get connected. And like I said, you're in our system, but we're going to have you do this because this is the easiest way to just get connected with it and be able to access everything within the app. So hit that sign up button, put your basic info in there, and then this week we'll merge that with all of your other info so you don't have to manually put in account details and all that kind of stuff. There's several other features on that home screen we're excited about, things that we'll be talking about over the coming weeks, ways that you can engage throughout the service, our give button, the I'm new thing that we talk about every week. There's a built-in prayer wall where we can, as a church community, pray for things that are going on in our church. There's a watch button there. There's an invite button with built-in social media graphics that you can save to your phone and use on social media or send in a message to a friend to invite them to church. Lots of cool ways that we're going to engage with this as a church. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited. I hope you'll download this and play with it a little bit this week. Like I said, we're going to be talking about it more in the coming weeks, but this is just going to be a great way for us to connect together as a church. So friends, I'm so excited. We're going to continue this Come to the Table series today. Like I said earlier, we're excited to have Katie Scott, author of ChasingVibrance.com, and my wife, which is cool, speaking to us today. So would you join me in welcoming Katie to the stage?
Good morning, friends. It's so great to be with you here today. And I just love us singing together, that we get to recount the goodness of God as we worship together. My name is Katie Scott, and I'm so excited to be here with you guys today, teaching in this series that we're doing that we're calling Come to the Table. A time this month of February where, as a church family, we're focusing on hospitality and challenging ourselves to grow in the area of hospitality. Hospitality is something that my parents have always been really good at. When I was growing up, as a teenager, our house was a place that all the teenagers could come, and our friends would literally walk into the house and walk straight to the fridge, open it up, and start looking for snacks. Right? That was our house. Or they would know the frozen pizzas are in the basement in the chest freezer. You can go down there and get one and put it in the oven any time of the day or night and get a snack. And that was just the kind of way that I was raised. And when Nate and I got married, we wanted to be like that too. We didn't have a big hosting house. We had tiny little apartments, right? And just slightly larger houses, but we never wanted that to stop us. So we would, have a 1,000 square foot house or an 800 square foot house, and we'd be having 20 people over to carve pumpkins in our living room, or just having people in our backyards for cookouts, or over for a movie night. And that was something that we really wanted to be true of us, because we wanted our house and our family to be a place where people could come in and just take a deep breath out, where they could be welcomed and wanted and be seen and loved with the love of Jesus. And hospitality, treating outsiders like insiders, is something that we're focusing on together as a church this month. And last week, Nate gave that challenge to us to invite someone to the table, to your table in your house, or maybe over for coffee, but invite someone to the table. And I am curious, who here extended an invitation? I would love to see your hand. You could have been yes, no, or ghosted, but if you just asked someone, I would love to see your hand. Yes, I love it. Thank you. That's awesome, guys. And I want to encourage you throughout the series, take that step when you're ready. Your house does not have to be perfect. Okay, our table does not match. The centerpiece is a different color than the end pieces. And it's covered in marker. And when I sometimes invite people over, we have take and bake pizza from Aldi's. That's my specialty, is take and bake pizza from Aldi's. Make this easy, make it fun, but continue to connect through hospitality and challenge yourself in that way, inviting people in as we go through this series and moving forward just in your day-to-day life. Before we dive into our topic today, I would love if we could just pause and pray together. Father God, I thank you that you are the most generous and hospitable God to us, that your generosity and your hospitality has overflowed to us in so many ways, God, and we just get to spill it out over into all the people we come in contact with, God. And I'm just so grateful for your generous grace, for your love and your mercy for us, Father. God, I pray that as I speak today, that you would fill my words with your grace and with your truth, and that your voice would be the loudest in this room, Father. I pray this in your Son's name. Amen. Today, we're going to be looking at the table of believers, the church, the family of faith, and how we can be generous and hospitable within this family group. Because through the church, God makes family out of strangers. We see this in Matthew 12, 46 to 50. Jesus is teaching, and it says, well, Jesus was still talking to the crowd. His mother and brothers stood outside, waiting to speak to him. And someone told him, your mother and brothers are standing outside, wanting to speak to you. And he replied, who is my mother, and who are my brothers? Pointing to his disciples, he said, here are my mother and my brothers, for whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother. And Jesus is doing crazy things. He did crazy world-upending things, and he said, we're going to take strangers, and by following me, we're going to become a family. A new kind of family, this table of believers. And last week, Nate talked about this. What is the purpose of the church? And the purpose of it found in Matthew 28, 18 to 20, where he says, therefore go, or as you have gone, or wherever you are, aka whatever you are doing, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that I have commanded you. And we said the purpose of the church is simply to help people find Jesus and live like him. The problem is that we as the church, the table of believers, have gotten this wrong. Often. Sometimes we think that we're on mission, but we've missed the mission entirely. Like we have gone off on a side quest about things that don't matter at all. I think about this, sometimes I will call or text Nate and I'll be like, hey hon, can you stop at Walmart and pick up a gallon of milk for us? Okay? And then Nate comes home and he's like, oh my goodness, look what I found, guys. I got these cool chips. I've got these Pop-Tarts. I've got all these great things. And I'm like, where's the milk, babe? The milk is what we needed. And we go off on these side quests sometimes in Christianity too, right? When I was in my 20s, I worked at a pregnancy resource center in Texas. So I counseled and met with young women and young men who were experiencing unplanned pregnancies. And there are a lot of people super passionate about stopping abortion. But that wasn't our mission. Our mission was to shine the light of Jesus into a hard and sometimes hopeless situation for these young men and women. And as we educated and we supported and we resourced these young men and women, sometimes we'd have the joy of them choosing life for their child. And that was amazing. And sometimes we had the joy of leading them to the forgiveness and love of Jesus if they had made a different choice. And that was amazing too, because we weren't off on a side mission. We weren't doing a side quest just to stop abortion. We were doing the main mission of helping people find Jesus and live like him. And sometimes we can kind of get off a little bit, right? We can kind of pick up Cheetos and Pop-Tarts and miss the milk. The thing that we actually need in the mission of helping people find Jesus and live like him, no matter what we're doing. We're always on that main mission. And there are sometimes where we could be on a side quest, but sometimes we're on mission, but we're going about it in the wrong way. Very quickly, 3 big ways that I feel like the church, both like little church, we can see these in our little community, but also like church on a grand scale, we've gotten these wrong. Maybe you've seen other Christians do this on social media or just at large, and you're like, don't do that. Don't say that. It's cringe, as the young people would say, right? So we're going to look at some of these wrong ways that we go about this. And the first wrong way is by bullying. No one has ever been yelled into a relationship with Jesus. You've heard of like the Crusades, right? Who's heard of the Crusades, okay? Those were not a good look for the church, right? Okay, we cannot bully people into believing or belonging. It's never going to work. We can't argue people into a relationship with Jesus. One of my friends growing up, she was like a legendary big sister type, right? She knew what everyone in the family should be doing, and she was happy to help them do it. And one day after church, she got her younger sister, who was like 4 or 5, and she like pinned her down and was like, you need to trust in Jesus. Believe in the Lord. And she was just like, okay, let me go. I believe in Jesus. But bullying people into believing, or we can leave that behind us. And another way the church has gotten this wrong historically is by building fences. By building fences, instead of embracing Jesus' radical idea of treating outsiders like insiders, we think, maybe it'd be better if we just kept the outsiders outside It's safer that way. It's better that way. I went to a Christian college in South Carolina, and we literally had a giant wall around our campus. Why? I don't know. We were going to try to keep Jesus locked up in there with us. I'm not sure to this day, but building fences has never been part of the DNA of Revolution Church. This is the way we've done church differently from the start, that we are a place where people can be invited in and not kept out. But it's one of the ways that the church at large, we've gotten this wrong in helping people find Jesus and live like him. And the third way that we've gotten it wrong sometimes is by creating pedestals. By creating pedestals. The church has gotten good, especially in America, at creating pedestals. I listened this fall to a podcast called The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill, and it was about the dangers that can happen when we begin to put dynamic leaders up on pedestals and up on platforms. It's not the way the church was ever intended to operate. And it leads to brokenness and burnout and disillusionment within the church and from outside the church as well. And the table of believers has been misrepresented and misaligned. And we need to kind of deconstruct these wrong ways of thinking about the church and reorient ourselves to hospitality in the way that Jesus intended. And the way we begin is by welcoming to the table. Hospitality, treating outsiders like insiders, is the way Jesus treated people. Nate said last week, our job at the table is just to pull out chairs for others to come join us together. And I want to be honest, it can sometimes be hard to do that. It kind of goes against our natural inclinations, our natural comfort, because sometimes we just don't love when people look differently than we look. When they were raised maybe with values that we weren't raised with. People who vote differently than we do. People who are easily misunderstood. People who are needy or broken are just a bit too much. And we like to welcome people who are healthy and whole and who remind us of ourselves in just the best way, right? Those are the kind of people we like, but that's not Jesus' way. Matthew 9:10-13 says, while Jesus was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and ate with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners? On hearing this, Jesus said, it is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. But go and learn what this means. I desire mercy and not sacrifice, for I have come not to call the righteous, but sinners. And our call as followers of Jesus is just to welcome as many as possible to the table, to show them by the things we say, the things we do, that they are loved and valuable to God and to us. And the second way we get hospitality right is by recognizing that the church isn't about me. If my goal is to make outsiders feel like insiders, then my Sunday morning experience is going to be different. It's not just going to be about relaxing and connecting with my friends and what can I get out of this and how can I be ministered to. Sometimes that will happen and that's okay for a season. A great place to start at church, but that shouldn't be the expectation. The purpose of gathering believers on Sunday is to worship God and serve each other. And the disciples, just so you know, Jesus' tightest, closest group of friends, they got this wrong. Okay, we get this wrong. We have to kind of reorient ourselves. It's pretty normal that we get it out of order sometimes too. In Matthew 20, we find this kind of unbelievable to me encounter with Jesus and his disciples, with two of them, James and John. And these are top tier inside circle guys, and they bring their mom with them to Jesus. They bring their mommy to ask Jesus a favor. And she says, hey, Jesus, could my two boys here, could they be the number one and the number two guy in your kingdom, please? And guys, I have two boys. I love them. I would do a lot of things for them. I would not do this. I would not do this for those boys. So she says, could they be number one and number two in your kingdom? And Jesus is like, no, Absolutely not. And actually, that you're asking this question shows me that you have missed so many points entirely about what I'm doing here, about the work that I'm doing, that what my kingdom is about. You've missed the point altogether. The other disciples catch wind of this, and they're a bit peeved. There's a little bit of tension, right? They're feeling a little grumpy. There's some grumbling and complaining. So in Matthew 20, verse 25, we'll pick up the story. Jesus calls them together and says, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." True hospitality among believers means that when I come to church, it isn't about me. The purpose of gathering believers on Sunday is to worship God and serve each other. So this means as I grow in my faith, as I know Jesus more and more, when I come to church, it's less and less about me. I literally think about myself less and less. My eyes shift from like when I walk in, like, oh, how long is that kid's checkout line? And oh, shoot, they don't have my favorite creamer. They used to have my favorite creamer here. And oh, why don't they ever play the songs that I want to sing? Or I just miss Anthony's talks. To thinking about who here needs to be seen and recognized. Who here needs a welcome? Who here needs a thank you? Who here needs to be treated like an insider, even though they're still a bit outside? And we get biblical hospitality right through the church by welcoming to the table and by recognizing the gathering of believers around the table isn't about us. And finally, by serving at the table. By serving at the table. There is a difference between eating dinner at grandma's house and eating dinner at Applebee's, is there not? Yes, right? So at grandma's house, the family comes together, right? And we have this shared history, these shared experiences. You maybe even have recipes like handed down from your family. Our family has a recipe like this. It's old-fashioned cream pie, like a very Indiana thing, right? Old-fashioned cream pie. And we say, no one can make it the way my great-grandma Lucy made it because her secret ingredient was a little bit of cigarette ash. And no one could do it the way that she does it anymore. And so we have these legendary family jokes and recipes and all this stuff. And at grandma's house, the table's packed with your favorite dishes, right? And everyone brings a dish, right? Maybe you bring a side or you bring a dessert. Or if you're not one of the culinary inclined people, you are always bringing drinks and napkins. And that's great too. And we work together to set up extra chairs and tables. Because that's not all on grandma to do, right? And we create this table of memories and shared history and experiences. Now let's talk about dining at Applebee's. Right, we go into Applebee's, maybe this floor is a little bit sticky, right? And you sit with the group you came with, you're just there with your people. At Applebee's, we order off the menu, right? We don't bring a dish to pass. If you came into Applebee's with a corn casserole, that would be a little weird, wouldn't it, right? And we're not helping clean up. They'd be like, please stop. Don't touch our stuff here. We have a thing. Don't do it. And you don't clear. You don't set up. And it's nice to go to Applebee's sometimes, right? Applebee's can certainly be less complicated than a family gathering. But eating at Applebee's isn't eating with your family. Eating at Applebee's is transactional. You come, you order, you eat, you pay, you leave. And the table of believers is meant to be like a big family gathering at grandma's house where the family gets together and we're always expecting guests. But we can start to treat the church like Applebee's. We come, we get what we want in a reasonable time frame, we feel a certain way, we pay, we leave. And this is a sickness in the American church. It's rotten, and it stinks, and it's not of Jesus. And we become like James and John, those disciples, grappling for a place of honor and looking for something we can get from church instead of looking for what we can give. The table of believers is a gathering to worship God and serve one another. That's what this is all about. So where do we start? Like, where do we even begin with all of this? That's my question. And I grew up doing 4-H, and in 4-H there's a pledge. We're not going to say it. If you were like, this is my moment, I was waiting my whole life to say the 4-H pledge again. We're not going to say it. But at the very end, it goes, for my club, my community, my country, and my world. And I tend to think when I start a project, I'm like, let's start as big as we can. What's the biggest thing I could do? But that reminds me always, the best place for me to start is to start really, really small. How am I practicing hospitality and service to my spouse, my significant other, my roommate, my most important relationship, whatever you want to fill in the blank there? Today, how am I helping that person's name find Jesus and live like him? And then you get to expand a little bit, right? Think about like your nuclear family, your little family. How am I helping Layla and Barrett and Griffin find Jesus and live like him? Because this mission work needs to be done first. God put you in a family as your first line of discipleship and evangelism and service. And then we get a little bit bigger, maybe to your extended family. And I hear some of you, Katie, you do not know my extended family. You do not know these people. I don't have to know your extended family because I know my extended family, okay? And I know that this can be sometimes the hardest mission field in the world. But God will use you and your family. He put you in that family for a reason. And he's going to use your welcoming. He's going to use your recognizing that it's not about you. He's going to use your serving in that family. So then we get a little bit bigger. And we know that God wants our service and hospitality at work in the church, in your church family. Acts 4:32 says, all the believers were one in heart and mind. No one claimed that any of their possessions was their own, but they shared everything they had. With great power, the apostles continued to testify to the resurrection of the Lord Jesus, and God's grace was so powerfully at work in them all. And we help people find Jesus and live like him at church when we give, when we serve, when we welcome others to the table, when we share our gifts, when we testify to what God is doing in our everyday conversations and our text messages, in all of those little moments we're like, hey, but remember that God is good. But hey, remember, let's pray together about these things. And God's grace becomes powerfully at work in us. And you may be listening today and you have felt the need to kind of like lean back or step out of serving at church for a season. And I want to tell you that I get that. I really do. Because if you do not have your things in order, if you are not serving your spouse, if you are not serving your family, we don't want you serving at church. We want you to get your pieces in order, and we want you to step up into serving in your family. We want you to start small. And if that means you have to kind of rewind it back a bit, right, so you can serve in your family, we understand. And I've definitely had to do that in seasons of my life. But let's assume we have that in order, or you're willing to get it in order. And I would encourage you to go against the inclination right now in this season to kind of lean back or step out of serving at the church. I know we are in a really unique season without a lead pastor. And there is a gap here in our church family, and it would be silly for us to act like it doesn't exist. And there are so many people who are stepping up and stepping into these gaps, and we are so thankful for you. We're so thankful for you. But I'm going to say that for every one person stepping in and stepping out, we probably have two people leading back or stepping out. Like, maybe I'll just circle back to Revolution when they figure out the pastor thing and they got the new person in, and that's when I'll get back and I'll get back involved. They're just not the same. Or it's just easier to watch from the couch. Friends, that is not the attitude of Jesus. Jesus took his last earthly meal and used it to serve. One of the last things he did, get your mind around this, on the face of the earth with his own free will was invite his friends to a table and serve them. He could have been doing anything else, but he chose to serve. In John 13:1, 4-5, it says, it was just before the Passover festival, and Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave the world and go back to his Father. And having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the very end. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. And after that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and used the towel that was around his waist to dry them. Jesus took the lowest low, the dirtiest, the grossest job imaginable, the one that he was highly overqualified for, the one that had no spotlight, no fame attached to it. And he served and loved his disciples all the way to the very end, all the way to the cross. And this kind of love, this kind of radical service changed those men. And they changed their community, and it changed the world. Because hospitality is love in action, has a ripple effect, and it's an ever-expanding call for the followers of Jesus. Galatians 5:13 says, you, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free. But do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Don't use it selfishly. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. And at the table of believers at Revolution Church, we welcome outsiders as insiders. We recognize that church is not about us. And we serve one another. We serve one another not out of guilt, not like begrudgingly, not out of pride or seeking a spotlight, but we serve out of humility and love and wanting to be like Jesus. And we're going to close today hearing the story of a revolutionary who has embraced this idea, and I love his story so much. But I want to challenge you to shift the narrative in your life. I want to challenge you, what if we stop thinking, how can I get what I need out of church? And what if instead we asked, how can I worship God more fully and serve others more deeply today?
Hi Revolution, I'm Jonathan Nelms. My family started coming to Revolution when we were still in the old Aaron's building about 6 years ago. I currently serve on the tech team and in Next Gen with the kids. I first decided to join onto these teams when I was sitting in church and I just felt like God was pushing me to make that decision. My sister serves as one of the singers on our worship team, and seeing how she was doing and the growth that she got out of it, I just felt like God was telling me it was time that I took that step for myself. Some of the things that I've gotten out of it have been phenomenal. I've had the opportunity to meet more people. I get to wake up every Sunday that I am serving and feel that excitement of being able to jump into this thing called selfless service and meeting these children, working with the tech team and learning new skills. You walk away every single week feeling like you contributed to the growth of the church, and specifically with the kids. I mean, it's amazing when you're sitting there and you're trying to have these conversations with them, you're trying to teach them more about Jesus and how to live like him, and they're having questions like, who made God? And then that opens up the conversation process with these kids that just want to learn. I think it's amazing getting to work with these children and seeing where they're going, and I'm just very blessed to be able to serve on these teams. So if you're not currently serving on any team, or if you're not going to a life group, I challenge you to make that leap, to try something new and get out of that comfort zone. God doesn't call us to an easy lifestyle or a life of comfort. He calls us to use the talents that we've been given, the gifts that make us who we are. I can say that I'm definitely a stronger and better person for having done it, and I know that he can use your gifts to bring out unexpected blessings in your lives as well.
All right, friends, what an amazing sermon. Give it up for Katie real quick. Why don't we?
Thank you.
That was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And what an amazing story from our friend Jonathan there. And man, can I so relate to taking that next step to serving.
Right. That's what you're doing right now.
That's
this
what
is
I'm doing
new.
right now.
Alicia is new to this serving,
Yes.
but you did it. And I think much like him, you had seen people. I loved his comment about, like, I saw my sister. I saw her doing her thing, and I saw the growth in her, and he wanted that. And I think you have a very similar story.
Most
and like,
definitely.
I know this is my next step. And man, what a challenge from Katie. When we are invited to the table and we feel that comfort and we feel that welcome and we feel seen and loved, then our next step is to do that, is to serve. And so, friends, I want to invite you to serve here at Revolution. There is a place for you at our table, and there is a place for you to be in action, to be in movement at our table. Whether it's in next gen or tech like Jonathan, or hosting, band, production, the lobby, the cafe. You guys, the opportunities are endless, and we would love to talk with you about where you might fit in this. So you can do this really simply now. Our new app, you guys, there is a reason that Nate is ecstatic about this, and you should be too. I will admit, like back in December when he got all pumped about it, I was like, that is a lot of energy for an app. But it is due energy because this is so simple. You can open it up right now, and you can click next step and join a team. And that just alerts us that you are interested. It is not committing to anything. Right. It is not signing your life away. It's just saying, hey, I want to serve. I want to serve at the table, and there is a place for you. We even have new teams coming, right?
We do. We have some really amazing new serve teams coming in this new season, to where even those that join us digitally can now even serve and come to the table that way. And so it's an amazing thing, so you can serve straight from your comfy couch at home.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see the ways this happens. And you guys, I also feel like sometimes people say, well, I don't feel like I have a place at the table. Like, you guys say this and you talk about better together, but I just don't feel like I have a place. I want to encourage you, like, sometimes you have to make that effort to be at the place. And sometimes serving is the step that comes before that. Ideally, I would love for you to feel welcomed and feel totally in and be encouraged to serve in that way. But sometimes we have to take that step of like, okay, I'm going to serve. Because by serving, you begin to connect with other people. You begin to grow. And it's just an awesome way. So connect with us. Yeah. Take a next step this week about that.
Take that step to even like maybe talk to one of us that you've seen either up here or on one of the other serving teams. And that can open up your door too. That can make you maybe feel like you've got that spot at the table. So today, as we continue, I just want to let you know our prayer room is going to be open in the back. We have some friends that would love to come alongside you if you are going through something or there's something you want to be praying about. If you're connecting with us online, you can text prayer to 574-498-2233. That'll work anytime throughout this week. Someone from our prayer team would love to connect with you and be praying with you and for you. And then also, because it's Super Bowl Sunday, today, the party is not over, friends. We are not leaving. We have a tailgate set up out there. There's games, there's food. So if you are a food fan, that's me. We got you covered out there. We just encourage you guys to stay. Also, like Nate talked about in the app as a connect part, you can go right there and you can begin to have conversations about what Katie talked about what's going on in your mind and heart right now. So thank you guys so much for being here with us. Thanks for celebrating, and we'll see you out at the tailgate.